All right, let's just jump right in. For the first time in basically 2 decades, the way we all find information online is being completely rewritten from the ground up. And the engine behind this massive change? It's generative AI. And believe me, this isn't just some minor update. It's a fundamental shakeup in how your customers are going to find and talk to your brand.
And this isn't some far-off future thing, it's happening at like lightning speed. Just to throw a number at you, during the 2024 holiday season, AI search referrals to retail sites here in the US shot up by an absolutely staggering 1,300%. So yeah, this isn't a ripple, it's a tidal wave, and it's already on our doorstep.
So what does this actually look like in the real world? Well, for more and more people, and we're talking especially about younger, wealthier consumers, the path to buying something doesn't start by typing a few keywords into a search bar anymore. Nope. It starts with a conversation, a dialogue. They're asking an AI assistant something like, "Hey, can you plan a cool weekend trip for me that won't totally break the bank?" And that means we have a brand new gatekeeper standing between you and your customers. It's not the old search engine algorithm we've all spent years trying to figure out. It's the large language model, the LLM, that's powering these new AI assistants. And you absolutely have to understand how it thinks. Okay, this slide right here gets to the absolute heart of the disruption. Traditional search, it gives you a list of links. It's a starting point for you to go do the research. But LLM-powered search? Totally different ballgame. It does the research for you and just gives you a single, neat, compiled answer. Think about that. You're getting a recommendation for which bike to buy before you've even clicked on a single brand's website.
And this leads to a pretty brutal new reality for brands. With old school search, hey, if you weren't the #1 result, you could still be on page 1, maybe even page 2. But in the world of LLMs, it's pretty much all or nothing. If that model doesn't mention your brand in its answer, you are, for all practical purposes, completely invisible to that customer. Gone.
And the data? It totally backs this up. People are moving over to this way of doing things, and they're doing it fast. A big survey of 12,000 consumers found that using Gen AI for product recommendations more than doubled in just 1 year. It went from 25% to 58%. This isn't some niche thing anymore. It's rapidly becoming the main event. So if the old metrics we used to rely on, search rankings, keyword volume, are starting to fade, how in the world do you measure if you're even showing up in this new world? Well, the answer is you're going to need a whole new way of measuring success. And that new metric is called share of model, or SOM. The easiest way to think about it is like this. It's the new share of voice, but for the AI era. It's all about measuring how often, how prominently, and how favorably your brand gets mentioned by these LLMs. And what's so critical to get here is that SOM reflects the AI's perception of your brand, which it turns out can be wildly different from how humans search. And this is where we see a fascinating disconnect. Just because a lot of people know your brand doesn't mean the AI does. For instance, you have what we're calling cyborgs, like Tesla. They're strong in both worlds, human and AI. But then you have high street heroes like Lincoln, a classic, well-known brand that is surprisingly underrepresented in AI results. And on the flip side, you've got AI pioneers like Rivian, which might have lower general awareness among people, but they actually score incredibly well with the LLMs. Okay, so we've laid out the problem, we've figured out the new way to measure it, so what's the solution? How do you actually improve your share of model? Well, that brings us to the new playbook, LLM optimization. LLM optimization, or LLMO, is basically the evolution of SEO. It has to be. It's this new science of creating and structuring all your brand's information in a way that makes sure it's not just seen by these AI gatekeepers, but actually understood, valued, and most importantly, recommended by them. And the strategic shift here is just massive. I mean, SEO was always about grabbing attention, right? Chasing keywords, building backlinks, playing popularity contests. LLMO is all about providing a resolution. See, these LLMs, they don't care about being persuaded. They're just trying to figure out the user's job to be done and give them the most direct, factual, and helpful solution possible. So how do you actually do that? Well, you have to create content that an LLM values. This means things like highlighting real proof of your expertise. We're talking studies, data, hard facts. It means narrowcasting, creating super specific content that solves very specific problems. And it means clearly explaining the how and the why behind your product, not just what it is. Let's look at some real-world examples to make this stick. Brands with low share of model, like a Lincoln or a Sheen, they often focus on marketing that's about aspiration, elegance, heritage, or they just have tons of generic content. But on the other hand, brands with high SOM, like Tesla or The Ordinary, they hammer on functions, features, and really transparent, science-backed explanations. They provide the cold, hard facts that LLMs are built to look for.
But look, this isn't some magic wand you can just wave and everything's perfect. Like any really powerful new technology, this whole shift comes with its own set of pretty serious challenges. And it's so important for businesses to approach this new world responsibly.
And that really raises a crucial question for any brand diving into this. What are the hidden dangers of relying on these models, both for getting information yourself and for how they represent you to the world?
There are a few big risks you have to be aware of. First, LLMs can hallucinate, which is a wild way of saying they literally just make things up. Then there are potential data leakage and privacy concerns if sensitive info gets fed into them. And while there aren't new techniques like retrieval augmented generation or RAG, which kind of helps an AI check its work against a trusted source, these risks are definitely not gone completely. So to navigate all this, businesses really need a responsible AI framework, kind of like the one you see here. The big idea is just to be deliberate. You start by defining exactly what you want to do and what the risks are. From there, it's about building on a solid foundation, investing in good, quality data, standardizing how you test things, and constantly monitoring performance, all while making sure your teams are trained to use these powerful tools the right way.
So as we start to wrap this up, what does all of this really mean for the future of marketing? For the people who do this work every day? Well, it's nothing short of a complete reimagining of how brands connect with customers in a world that's increasingly mediated by algorithms.
What we're watching happen is this technological evolution creating a completely new and vital role inside companies. The SEO specialists of today, whose skills are being automated more and more, have this incredible opportunity to become the LLMO experts of tomorrow, the people who manage brand reputation across all these different AI platforms, playing by a whole new set of rules. Which really leaves us with one final critical question to think about. In this new age of AI, is your brand still just broadcasting a marketing message out into the world? Or is it being engineered from the ground up to provide a clear, factual, and genuinely helpful resolution to a customer's problem? Because the answer to that question is going to determine whether you thrive or whether you become totally invisible.